Society doesn't want to talk about menopause. And when they do, they don't make it sound very pretty. So, Walgreens is helping women change the perception and take back the narrative because nothing is sexier than being in control. Menopause is confidence. Menopause is power. Menopause is hot. Let's reframe menopause together. Watch the Menopause is Hot story at walgreens.com/hot.
Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds makes for a wholly amazing, wholly delicious experience that's, well, wholly Hershey's. Everyone should get to experience the satisfying surprise of a whole almond tucked inside creamy Hershey's chocolate. So don't wait your whole life to try Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds. And if you've already had it, then chances are you're already a lifelong fan of this confectionery delight. Find Hershey's milk chocolate with whole almonds wherever candy is sold.
If this is the crew you're going out with and they're going to have that attitude, that's honestly is like all you need to know. And maybe you're like, oh, but I love them. They're my family. Okay, great. Don't go into environments with that crew of people where alcohol is going to be involved. I've told you guys this a lot over the years, but you got to set yourself up as much as possible for success. Make it as easy as possible for you to keep the promise you made to yourself. The quickest, easiest thing to do would be stop going into environments where alcohol is served, right? Like, I'm not saying that you have to do that because that eliminates dinner or like brunch or some really fun things that maybe you want to do. But if you wanted to get super hardcore, you'd be like, hey guys, let's meet for ultimate frisbee, or let's go on a hike, or go into experiences where it's not likely that alcohol will be there.
Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official.
Hi guys, it's Rach. Welcome to another episode of the show and a new edition in our Ask Rach series. So if you have never listened to one of these episodes before, number one, they are our most popular, which is really cool. Number two, it's just me giving you advice. And I say just me because I like to remind the audience that I am just a random chick you know from the internet. I am not an expert. I am not your doctor. I am just giving you my intuition, my instinct in the moment. If I say something that's helpful, please use it. If I say something you don't agree with at all, feel free to ignore it. It's just a bunch of ideas that are hopefully entertaining and hopefully helpful. I answer questions from the audience who has called into our podcast hotline. In case you're curious, the number is 737-400-4626. People call in from all over the world and they ask me everything, anything, everything on every topic you can imagine. And I answer in the moment, just here's what I'm thinking. And I think we should just jump right in and see what today's questions are. Let's start here.
Hi, Rachel. I am just wondering, and maybe you've already answered this question, but how did you know when it was time for a divorce? I have a marriage that is about 25 years in. There's not been any infidelity, but I am dealing with someone that has like a lot of narcissistic tendencies. And the older I get, the more I realize I'm not sure I want to live my life this way. So anyway, if you could give any input or wisdom on how you reached that decision. I know every story is different, but I would greatly appreciate any advice. Thank you. Love your show.
All right, sister. First, I want to acknowledge you for asking the question, because I bet there are a lot of people listening who have that question too. And the first thing I would tell y'all is I did an episode years ago. It's episode 441, which is signs your relationship is over. And that sounds really harsh, but I was getting so many requests back then about this topic of like, how do you know if you should break up with someone, or how do you know if it is over, or whatever. And so I thought I would love to create something that I wish I had known those things years in advance. Like, I wish that I would have seen those red flags for what they were. And that's what that episode is about. So if you want to go listen to it, you can go check that out, because I take a deep dive into the topic. But I guess what I would say to you and to anyone else who finds themselves in this wondering is like, if you are already wondering how you know if it's time to get a divorce, you're already pretty far gone. That sounds harsh and that sounds scary, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but at least from my perspective, I never even thought that word. Like, I never even thought the D word until the end. I realize now, for years and years and years, I had been questioning things and wondering things and realizing like, oh, that's not good. Like, that shouldn't happen. What does that mean? Like, but we have 4 kids, and like, you're distracted and something happens, and then like you go on vacation and you have so much fun and it changes and then you're like right back to where you were. And I've heard this again and again, that for a lot of women, especially, that process is actually years in the making. Like, so many people have told me that story, that for 10 years, they think about it. And the thinking about it just keeps growing, and the pondering keeps growing. And we do work on ourselves, and we go to therapy, and we try all of this stuff before we get to the day where it's like something just clicks, like something, you're just like, no, it's not getting better. The behavior is not changing. We're still here. And you realize in that moment that if it was going to change, it would have. And I remember one of the things I talked about in that episode 441, I remember sharing this thing, which was when I finally had the courage to tell my ex-husband that it was done. And it did not go well. But I remember in one of the many discussions and the many arguments, and we like went to couples therapy, we like did so many things. But I remember when I finally found the courage, and he was so upset, and he was like, you never gave me a chance. Like, you never. And I was like, I have been talking about this. I have told you about this for years. Like, at least in our instance, we had talked about this. We had a podcast together. We talked about it then. We used to always share the story about how I had said to him, like, we have to both work on ourselves. Like, we have to be evenly yoked. We don't have to be the same person, but we have to be growing at a similar rate, because if you're not growing at a similar rate, I'm going to keep growing. And like 5 years from now, we're not going to talk as much. And then we're not going to go on dates as much. And then we're not going to be intimate anymore. And then we're not like it'll compound, and we'll get to a place where we're not together anymore. So we had been talking about it from my perspective for years. But when I finally had the courage to say, like, I'm done, he was like, you never gave me a chance. And I was like, I have told you over and over and over that this is very serious and that I mean it. And he said, I never believed you. And the funny thing was, he said it like it was my fault. He was like, well, I never believed you. So that's why I didn't do anything, because I didn't believe you. And I share that because I think there are people listening who do want to work on their relationship, and they do want to save their marriage. And that was one of the bits of advice I offered in that episode, was like, make sure that they know that you are serious. It's really scary to get to the place where you're like, we have a problem. But it's way worse if you think you're trying desperately to save a relationship and they think it's Tuesday. If they don't know that anything is going on and you're really working on it, that's going to cause some huge disparity. So make sure that your partner understands how serious this is. If you actually want to save this relationship. I believe in marriage. I believe in monogamy. I believe in being with a person and building a life together and making the choice to do life together even when it's hard. I believe in that. But there are times where the relationship has run its course, where who you are and who you have become is so fundamentally different than who they have become. And 25 years will do it to you. It'll change a person. And it's very possible to grow apart. So the question I think for you, for anybody else listening to this is like, do you want to save this marriage? And not do you want them to become someone that you want to be married to? That's a fantasy. That's you making up a story that isn't real. Do you want to be married to him? Do you want to be married to her? Do you want to be married to them right now for who they are? Because if you try and make up a whole story, you'll be right back in this place 18 months from now. It's not fair to ask someone else to live into the narrative you've made up in your own mind for the ideal partner. Do you want to be with them? And if you don't want to be with them, it honestly is not worth the effort of like, let's go to couples counseling, let's do all of these things, let's try, because your heart isn't in it. You don't, I just think for a lot of us, women especially, it's like, I've been waiting for you to get it together. I've been asking for you to get it together. I've been asking for you to tell me the truth. I've been asking you to show up authentically. I've been like for years and years and years. And it's not an ultimatum. I don't believe in an ultimatum. I don't like that idea like you need to change or I'm out, because that's never going to work. It's only going to work if someone wants to change for themselves, not because they want to change for you. So look at who they are today. Like on their best days, on the days where they're really showing up, not when they're sick, not when they're having a hard time at work, but like on their best days, like, is this someone you want to build a life with? Because I don't care if you've been together for 25 years, your life is not over. Your life is just getting going. You got a whole life ahead of you. Do you want to build it with this person? And if the answer is no, I always say this to y'all, you do not have to make a change just because you know the truth. You don't have to make a change yet. But just be honest with yourself. Just be honest with yourself about what is really going on here. Even if it takes you a while to make decisions from there, just be honest with yourself about where you are today. And I hate plugging a book here, but I am a writer and I did write a book about this topic. So the new book, What If You Are the Answer, is all about knowing your answers, knowing your intuition, knowing what it is trying to say to you. It is a series of questions that you can ask yourself to see where you are. One of the questions is, would you sign up for this again? There's a chapter in that book about realizing when you get to the point in a relationship or a job or a friendship or a club that you belong to or a church that you go to where you're like, knowing everything I know today about this person, about this place, about this thing, knowing everything I know today about this noun, would I sign up for it again with all of the knowledge I have today? And if the answer is not hell yes, it's a no. And if it's a no, you need to get real with yourself about why you are staying in something that you know does not work, that you know doesn't just not work for you, but if it doesn't work for you, it also doesn't work for them. It's a really hard decision to make. So don't force yourself to make the decision yet. But at the very least, be honest with yourself about what the truth is. Thank you for the question.
Visiting South Dakota was always one of my someday things. Like, well, someday I'm going to go see the Dakotas, and someday I'm going to walk through Badlands National Park, and someday I'm going to see Mount Rushmore in person. And then a couple summers ago, I just made someday today, and it was awesome. The kids and I had the most amazing time. We went hiking. We saw Mount Rushmore, which is like shockingly more majestic than you think it would be. We had amazing dinners. We stayed in this awesome log cabin in a national park. It was truly one of our favorite family vacations. And I loved it because it was this great blend of seeing a part of the US I'd never seen before and being outside in nature. So maybe it's time you turn someday into today. See why there's so much South Dakota and so little time. Plan your escape at travelsouthdakota.com. My favorite part about Thrive Market is that I don't have to think about it. As a mom of 4 kids trying to get dinner on the table, make sure there are enough snacks in the pantry and items to fill their lunch boxes, it is so nice to not have to think about whether or not the ingredients in what I'm shopping for are actually good for my family. This is the beauty of Thrive Market. It's your favorite health food store, but online and way more affordable. Not only can I get my favorite products, but I also always find brand new ones that I didn't know existed. Things like Ora Bora sparkling water or Unreal dark chocolate bars with coconut. Oh my gosh, have you guys had those? Thrive has supplements, household items, and clean beauty too. All of their items are vetted and all way more affordable than you think. Skip the junk without overspending. Head to thrivemarket.com/Rach to get 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift. That's thrivemarket.com/Rach, thrivemarket.com/RACH.
All right, let's see what our next one is today.
Hi, Rachel. My name is Sterling. I'm a new listener, and I love everything you have to say. Love you, girl, so much. This is something that's always stuck with me as a kid. When I was younger, my baby sister would always follow me around and always kind of copy me, like same hairstyle, same clothes, same Barbies, everything like that. So total copycat. And I don't know, for some reason, it just really annoyed me. And my mom would always say, it's just a form of flattery, like, get over it. And she was probably right. But so currently I'm living in the state of Utah. And here it's just a little bit of a different culture. Like, everybody has a Stanley Cup, everybody has a Mickey blanket, everyone has orange skin and blonde hair, and I don't know, it's just like everybody's trying to fit in. And I don't know, at least that's how I see it in my young 22-year-old mind. But like, I just found out like that just kind of was ironic because I never really had that answer solidify for me as a kid. And now, like, as an adult, I'm like, man, like, is it good to be a copycat or is it kind of bad? So I don't know. I just wanted to hear your opinion about that. And how do you just like stick with your OG self? Like, such a crazy changing world. Thanks for your time and love, and I appreciate you.
This is such a good question. And I love that you're asking it as a young woman instead of, in your 40s trying to figure out who you are. My answer is yes and no. My answer is sometimes. My answer is maybe. Allow me to explain. You know that phrase, fake it till you make it? It really can be toxic, and it can also be very helpful. And in my own life experience, one of the fake it till you make it things that has really helped me is style. I did not grow up in a family with money. I did not grow up in a family where I would look at anyone and go, oh, that's stylish. Like, one of my big sisters was so much older, 9 years older than me. So she was like out of the house when I was even paying attention to that. And the other one was like a hippie. And honestly, I have hippie tendencies that I am positive came from watching Melody wear like Grateful Dead t-shirts and like have long hair. And I'm sure that my hippie tendencies, like when I go to Hawaii, are because as a little girl, that is the style that I saw, like your little sister. And I wanted to be like my big sister. So in my mind, that's what cool looks like. But I didn't have examples of how to do anything, not hair, not makeup, not what to wear. And I always felt awkward and I always felt ugly. And I always was wearing clothes like I couldn't fit into the clothes because I was chubby and I didn't know how to shop for sizes. I was like, if I was lucky enough to shop, I was shopping at the Goodwill. So it's sort of like take whatever you could get. And if you're getting something off those racks, like back in my day, there were not dressing rooms. You just like saw something, you're like, that'll probably fit. And then you get home and okay, these pants are too small, but it's not like I have money for other ones. So this is what I'm rocking. So I just was pretty tragic, to be honest with you. It took a very long time to get to the place where I felt comfortable with my personal style. And frankly, until I had the money to be able to afford things that I liked. In the interim, we learn the same way baby animals learn. We learn by mimicking behavior. We see somewhere like, oh, that's okay. I'll try that and see how that works for me. And it is very common to take on mannerisms, language, style, hair, all of it of the environment that you're inside of because, and this is the reason, this is the moment, this is the thing that makes it work. It will give you more confidence. If you have no confidence because you look different than everybody else, you can go two routes. You can do a lot of work on yourself to get to the place where you don't give a crap and you are so confident and you're going to show up however you show up and you're like Bjork and you're wearing the swan dress and you're probably too young to know what I'm referencing. Go ahead and Google it. But you get to the place where you have enough confidence to show up as yourself. That looks like a lot of personal work to get to that place. But you can hack the system. You can game the system. If you know you're going to go into an environment where other people look a certain way, one of the easiest way I know to do that is to just look like part of the crowd. And yes, it does make you like, do you know the term sheeple? You're like a sheep person, you're a sheep people, you're sheeple. You're just following the other sheep. Yes, for a minute, you're a sheeple. But if looking like the other girls or if looking like the other people at work or dressing in a way that mimics what the executives at your firm are wearing, if that makes you feel more confident so that you're not thinking of like, oh gosh, my shirt, these are the wrong shoes, these are the wrong pants. If that helps you, then be a sheeple for a season. Be a sheeple until you can start to figure out what your own personal style is. But if you are simultaneously trying to figure out what your personal style is and gain confidence, at least in my world, those two things never really worked very well. So if I could go back in time and talk to me at, 19 years old with my first real job, I actually would have encouraged myself to do that as much as possible, to look at what the other girls at the office were wearing, what were their outfits were, and I would have found 2 or 3 great pieces and I would have worn them over and over and over. That is something I've learned in my 40s. I mean, you guys have probably seen me wear this blue sweater in like 50 different podcast videos because I love this blue sweater. It's super cozy. I think the color looks really nice on me. I wear the same stuff again and again and again. I wear my denim jacket all the time. I wear my blazers all the time. I wear my leather jacket like every other day because you find things that make you feel great and then you repeat them. But I needed the confidence of mimicking other people in order to have the courage to like exist. When I started as a keynote speaker, I only had the examples of men. Now it is way more common to see a bunch of women up on stage doing motivational speeches. I like to think I had a lot to do with that. But when I first got going, I did not see examples of that. Mel Robbins was truly, she had a TED Talk about the 5-second rule. And even in that, she's wearing a skirt. So I really did not have examples of women who like wore jeans and sneakers, and like I was looking at guys, and the guys in the category were like wearing suits. So my first speeches, I would try and show up either like a dude that I had seen, or the women I saw on stage were like super polished, high heels, blown out hair, wearing a dress. God help us. There is video footage of me somewhere trying to give a keynote speech in a dress and heels. And halfway through the speech, y'all, I literally had to take my shoes off on stage because I was like, I have two choices right now. I can either take off these shoes and give a good speech, or I can keep the shoes on and not give a good speech because the entire time I'm worried that I'm going to fall in these shoes because I didn't wear heels. I think there's real power in mimicking, because if I hadn't mimicked someone, I wouldn't have known how to dress at all. But you play by the rules of a game that you're getting involved in until you play the game well enough to change the rules, or maybe change the game. But for me, I did spend a lot of years looking like other people I saw because I didn't yet have the courage to figure out who I was. And as you get older, or maybe you're starting way younger than I did, but as you get older, just pay attention to what makes you feel good. What do you put on your body, and that jacket, those shoes, that hat, those jeans, those shorts, that skirt, that dress, whatever. What makes you feel great? What makes you feel like you? What makes you feel like you're not thinking about your outfit? That to me is ultimate confidence in your personal style, is when you are not thinking about the outfit. When I'm like fussing and like fitzing and like trying to, it might look great. Like the outfit might be cute, but that is not my most confident self because I'm conscious of it. So pay attention to, even if you only have one thing in your closet that makes you feel that way, what is that one thing? And can you then break apart what it is about that thing that makes you feel so good? I mentioned I have this denim jacket I've had forever, and I have a leather jacket I've had forever. And if I look at those jackets, different materials, but very similar style. They both have a really similar cut. They're cut on the bias, so the back of the jacket is a bit higher than the front flaps of the jacket, which is just flattering, shows off your butt. Both look great. So I know that that's a silhouette that looks really good on me and that makes me feel good, which means I can edit. If I'm going through a bunch of jackets and I'm trying to decide in a store, like, oh, I want a new thing, I'm giving a keynote speech and I want to look really great, I'm going to get myself something new, I'm going to gravitate to the things that I already know really work for me. But I'm only able to know that if I take the time to unpack why that particular piece made me feel so good. Maybe there's a certain color that you love. Maybe it's your power color, or maybe you love black because it's really sleek. Pay attention to what your style looks like today. And I say that because you were like, how do you be your OG self? I think that we retain our OG self through character, through heart, through passion, through how we show up in this world. But to be totally honest with you, I do not want to be my OG self when it comes to style. My style today at 42 is the most authentically me it's ever been. I feel really good in my skin. I feel really good in my clothes. I love the way my closet is coming together. I do not want to go back to how I was dressing 10 years ago or 15 or 20. And I don't think that's the point. Understand that evolution doesn't mean you become them. Just because you're evolving into someone new and your style is growing, maybe it's growing more elegant, maybe it's growing more mature, maybe you're becoming more of a woman than you've ever been, that doesn't mean that you're naturally going to become like the other girls around you. Unless there are things about them that you like. Sometimes we do this, girls. Let's be honest. Sometimes we talk a whole bunch of crap about some other girl's style or her Stanley Cup or her hair or her makeup because on the inside we actually think it's really pretty, but we don't think we could ever have that thing. So then we spend a whole bunch of time talking crap about her. And if we would just use the energy of talking crap to actually figure out how to do our foundation that way, or figure out how to curl our hair in that style, our life would be so much better and we would not be spewing negativity out into the world. So pay attention to like, what are the things about other people that you actually might like? I won't tell anybody if you secretly want that hair. I'm not going to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. But you could use that as an indication of an area that you could work on yourself. I am a firm believer when it comes to looks, there is nothing in this world that you cannot have. There isn't. We know this. We know, I'm not saying it's a healthy way, but when it comes to the way we look, you could pay someone to give you hair extensions, to give you lash extensions, to do anything you want, right? You can look however you want. You might not yet know the steps to take to look a certain way, but the really cool thing about personal style is that it's an experiment. And I hope to God the personal style you're rocking at 20 is different than 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 and beyond. Because the ideal is that you learn more and it gets cooler and better and more beautiful as you grow, because you get cooler and better and more beautiful as you grow. So don't be afraid to try some stuff. I don't know that you want orange skin. That didn't sound fun. But look around, see what other people are doing. If you think that looking like that would help you a little bit. Because I used to talk all kinds of crap about the popular girls in my high school because I could have never afforded to look like them. I didn't know how. I didn't have those clothes. I didn't. So I would talk about it to the other girls when in reality, I would have given anything to have that hair. And I would have given anything to have those clothes. My jealousy was actually holding up a mirror to something that I wanted. And if I would have spent less time talking crap about them and more time figuring out how to make myself feel more confident, I might have tried to do my hair that way. And in doing my hair that way, maybe I would have felt better about myself. And then maybe I wouldn't have been so negative about the people around me. And maybe in feeling more confident in myself, I would have the courage to figure out what my personal style was instead of copying them. I think that mimicking behavior can be a real tool to help us grow. And I don't think you should shy away from it. And it doesn't make you a copycat. It makes you someone who's learning from the world around them.
I love Saturdays because Saturdays are when we feast. It's when we have our favorite foods, our favorite snacks, and one of our go-tos, I kid you not, is a PB&J. It's so classic. It's so delicious. The PB&J is the OG. It's the greatest of all the sandwiches. And Smucker's fruit spreads are fruity, jammy goodness. If you've got a great nut butter and a great Smucker's jam, oh my gosh, they're sweet, they're smooth. It's all the things I'm here for. I'm actually making myself really hungry. I know it's just jam and nut butter, but somehow it gets the job done every single time. Because no matter how much changes, PB&J is deliciously dependable and classic for a reason. Get Smucker's jam and make the OG PB&J. This is an ad by BetterHelp. I know a lot of you are like me, entrepreneurs or people who have that side hustle. You've got a dream, you've got a goal, and that can be amazing. And it can also be super stressful to balance all of those things and show up for our lives the way we want to. Most of us can't just wave goodbye to work and instantly start our wellness routine the second that we leave the office or the second that we close that laptop. But therapy can be an incredible resource to help you figure out how to transition between one and the other. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So whatever you're going through, there is a therapist that specializes in it. My listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Rach. That's better, HELP.com/Rach.
All right. Let's see. Our last question for today. I will just break in and say if you have a question you want to ask me. I really love the ones about like personal style and wellness and working out. They're so much easier than the like divorce and grief. I'll answer all your questions, but I'm here for the fun ones too, guys. I'd just like to remind you the number is 737-400-4626. Let's see what this caller has to ask.
Hey, Rach. I just thought of a question for you, which is how do you stop drinking socially when you don't really want to? You have talked a lot about reducing alcohol, and you've talked a lot about how in the past you used it as kind of a crutch in your everyday life. I am from a place where drinking is kind of part of the culture. I do have a very supportive, group of friends and family who, if I wasn't drinking, it's not like anyone would care. But I find that saying no is difficult because people, I don't know, assume you're pregnant, or they assume you, just have one, And then, they order it, and yeah, then all of a sudden you have this drink. So just wondering what tips you have for that, and wondering if you can disguise my voice a little bit. Thank you so much. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on an upcoming episode of Ask Rach, and I love you and I'm rooting for you too.
Such a good question that you're asking, and a really important one for a lot of us to consider. What popped into my head as you were talking was we need to all get real careful about our just have one friends. I'll put a little quote around friends too. You need to be really aware of the people in your life who say just have one. I don't want just have one friends. I want friends that want me to be the best version of myself and will encourage me in that effort. So I guess the question becomes, is it that you have the wrong circle around you? Or is it that you are not being clear enough with the circle you have about where your life is going and your intentions and why? If you set it up in advance, before you went to dinner or drinks or met people for a night out, if you told the crew, hey guys, I'm really working on my health right now, super excited to hang out with you. I'm not going to drink. I'm just letting you know. I need you to be my accountability buddies. Like, we don't even need to talk about it. It's not a thing. But just know when we go out tonight, I'm having sparkling water with lemon and I'm super happy about it. And that's it. If you set that up in advance, number one, I hope that people are like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Like, good for you. We love this for you. This is a great choice. I did that. I did, sober October every year, and it makes me feel really good. Like, hopefully you get a lot of support and encouragement for that choice. If you get anything other than support and encouragement for that choice in the pre-game, in the text, my instinct would be this is probably not the crowd to go out with. If someone's already giving you crap or starting drama because you told them you didn't want to drink, that just saved you a whole bunch of time because you do not want to spend your energy. You just don't want to waste time with someone who has that sort of attitude because they've got their own agenda. Like, what is your agenda? If your friend tells you, your cousin tells you, your sister, if someone's like, yeah, I'm not going to have a drink tonight, and someone tries to encourage you to drink, what is your agenda? What are you doing? What is it about me not drinking that's triggering you? Because guess what? That trigger has nothing to do with me. And you getting someone to make a negative choice so that you feel more positive about your negative choice says a whole lot about you. And you need to know that in advance. If this is the crew you're going out with and they're going to have that attitude, that's honestly is like all you need to know. And maybe you're like, oh, but I love them. They're my family. Okay, great. Don't go into environments with that crew of people where alcohol is going to be involved. I've told you guys this a lot over the years, but you got to set yourself up as much as possible for success. Make it as easy as possible for you to keep the promise you made to yourself. The quickest, easiest thing to do would be stop going into environments where alcohol is served, right? Like, I'm not saying that you have to do that because that eliminates dinner or like brunch or some really fun things that maybe you want to do. But if you wanted to get super hardcore, you'd be like, hey guys, let's meet for ultimate frisbee, or let's go on a hike, or go into experiences where it's not likely that alcohol will be there. Someone who like loves to drink and play ultimate frisbee was just like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. Set yourself up for success whenever you can. When you can't control the environment, set up the intention before you ever get there. Hey, just FYI, I'm not drinking. I'm working on my health. That's all you have to say. And you should, hopefully, if you're engaging with adults who are like mature people and want the best for you, they're just gonna be like, oh, that's awesome. Or maybe they want to like, oh, that's great. Like, how did you get yourself to big, like maybe they want to dive into it because they also want to make some better health choices. And that's where the conversation goes, which is awesome and supportive and the kind of energy we want around us. But yeah, I just set it up in advance. So you're not walking into an environment and feeling peer pressure and smelling like a delicious wine. And like all of these things are happening, which are going to encourage you to make a choice you don't want to make. That being said, if you go into environments where people are encouraging you to make choices you don't want to make, that's just a real clear line in the sand for me that this is not people we should have in our life. We just shouldn't. You should not have people in your life who try and encourage you to make mistakes. We've all been in a certain situation. Let's say we're on vacation with our girls. It's like someone's bachelorette weekend, and like you have the instigator friend who's like, do one more shot, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. You're in an environment, you're already partying. Someone's like, make bad choices. You're like, we only live once. I'm talking about if you have someone in your life who very intentionally tries to knock you off track because they're off track and they want someone down in the ditch with them, every red flag you have should be going up. And I don't know exactly with this particular caller what she's encountering. It sounded like you have a lot of people who really wouldn't care that much. Is it maybe a worry that people will make up their own stories about you if you say that you're not drinking? Because I know what it's like to grow up in a culture where that would be more common. Like maybe you're, I don't know, Irish. You're growing up in Ireland and like everyone around you is down at the pub. Like, yeah, that would be harder to make a choice that's different than everybody else. But kind of goes to a piece of advice I gave in an earlier episode is just like, let them think whatever they want. Mel wrote a whole book about that. Let people think whatever they want. It has nothing to do with you and is a waste of your energy. You're trying to control a narrative you cannot control. If you don't want that kind of response, then find friends who are healthier. Because people who are healthy know that alcohol in any form, look, I love it. I love it. But I'm also wise enough to understand that alcohol in any form is poison. It's poison for your body. Champagne is delicious. I love a cab, right? I love an occasional beer. Give me a beer on cheat day. Let's go. But it's all, I'm not stupid. It's poison, period. There's no world where it's like, no, but it's cool. It's not. If you hang out with people who are healthy, they would never question it. We had some friends over for dinner the other night, and the friend who came over, her husband, I was meeting him for the first time. They came over and it was our cheat day. We were very excited. And that's the day that we get to have a drink. So I was having a beer, which, I know that we're talking about not having alcohol, so I'm not going to tell you about how delicious this beer was. But I was like, I asked her, I'm like, oh, do you want a beer? She's like, yeah, absolutely. So I get her a beer. And then can I get you something to drink? We have everything. And he's like, oh, can I have a sparkling water? I'm like, absolutely. Get him a topo. We all sit out on the back patio. There was never a moment of like, why are you sure you don't want to? Like, what? There was never. I sort of think that maybe people do that, not in a negative way, but we try and encourage someone else to drink because alcohol makes us feel less nervous to be around a crowd or to be in a new environment. And so we project that onto someone else. Like, oh, well, they must need a drink to have a good time with me because that'll make me, you know what I mean? It never occurred to me to even wonder why he didn't want alcohol. And then later in the night, Kez and I were talking about our nutrition plans. We're dorks, and we were talking about cheat day and like how we do it. And he was like, oh yeah, like I'm on a health journey and I, incredible story. And he's like lost 50 pounds and he gave up alcohol as part of that journey. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. Yes. And so then we talked about health for like an hour because we were all dorking out together. But if you hang out with people who are healthy, no one's going to wonder why you don't want alcohol because alcohol is poison. A bunch of ideas there. I hope one of them helps you, but stick with your beliefs. Stick with this journey. If your instinct and your intuition is telling you to do something, stick with it. Don't ask yourself how to make other people more comfortable to be around you. Ask yourself how you can be more comfortable with your own life choices so you don't care what anyone else around you thinks ever. I hope that's helpful. Guys, I loved your questions today. I always love your questions, and I'm grateful that you're here and part of this community. If you dig this show, me, producer Jack, editor Andrew, we all would so appreciate it if you would consider sharing this with a friend, because this is why we do what we do. It's for you guys. We will be back soon with more conversation. But until then, as always, I love you, and I'm rooting for you.
The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble.
When it comes to back-to-school shopping at Target, you can choose not to choose. From getting what you need to expressing who you are. With prices that make every choice feel right, why not choose all of the above? From backpacks, bedazzled kicks, and Picture Day Perfect styles as bold as they are. For bring your own lunch days to science project partner days, snack stash days, decorate your locker days, and paint outside the line days. All at prices that will definitely make your day. For all of the above, it's back to school at Target.
Hey everybody, Ted Danson here to tell you about my podcast with my longtime friend and sometimes co-host Woody Harrelson. It's called Where Everybody Knows Your Name, and we're back for another season. I'm so excited to be joined this season by friends like John Mulaney, David Spade, Sarah Silverman, Ed Helms, and many more. You don't want to miss it. Listen to Where Everybody Knows Your Name with me, Ted Danson, and Woody Harrelson sometimes, wherever you get your podcasts.